G'day, Shane Dowling here from kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now, I just published an article yesterday, 12th of May 2022, putting an argument forward why people should vote independent at the coming federal election on the 21st of May. Now, the main argument is so we can take back democracy. I argue that democracy has been stolen by the major parties. And the best argument for that is Scott Morrison and his government over the last 3 years, where the corruption is just totally out of hand. They've taken it to a whole new level. Prior to Scott Morrison, there was an argument put forward, which I agreed with, that the major parties were just as corrupt as each other. Once they get into power, whether it be Labor Party or the Liberal Nationals, there'll be jobs for the boys and girls left, right and centre. There'll be contract for their donors, for the companies that donate to them, etc., etc. And they've both proven that over, time and time again. You only have to look back for a Labor Party. You only have to look back to the Julia Gillard and Kevin Rudd governments, where there was jobs for the boys and girls all over the place. Julia Gillard even appointed her former boss at the law firm to a federal court judge's job. They had no shame. And we're probably going to head down the same path because Scott Morrison and his government is on the nose with voters. So a lot of voters are heading towards Labor. But we only have to look back to Kevin Rudd and Julia Gillard to realise that the voters won't hang around that long supporting Labor if the corruption rises to the top again, which, based on history, that's exactly what will happen. And that's why we should have a hung parliament. We should be voting in as many independents as we can. What the Labor Party like to argue when they say, oh, we can't manage the government, is they'll argue about they'll put the argument forward in relation to Julia Gillard and say she was one of the most productive Prime Ministers we've ever had. And I've done the statistics, well, I've had a look at them in other articles, and that seems to be true. And if you have a look at my article, you'll see a link there to one of the articles who've done the stats on it. But what they don't tell you, the Labor Party, is when Julia Gillard was in power, it was a hung parliament and she was relying on independents and the Greens. And that might explain why it was such a productive government. So if they're going to argue that, hey, we need to get rid of the Liberal Party and Scott Morrison, which I agree, they have to go. There's no choice about that. If they're voted back into power, the corruption's just going to climb tenfold to what it currently is, and it currently is scandalous. We do need a federal ICAC to spend the next 5 years investigating them. And probably the number one federal politician who shines a light on corruption is actually an independent senator called Rex Patrick. So given he's probably the number one person, I argue he is the number one person for shining a light on corruption in the government, I think we need a few more independents. So let's have a quick look at an independent who's running for the seat of Kooyong, Monique Ryan, or Dr. Monique Ryan.
In terms of this plan for an ICAC, Mr Frydenberg tells us he's put $100 million into it. The amount that was allotted for an ICAC in the most recent budget was $0. So saying that there's some commitment to that is patently false. Mr Morrison told us earlier this week he doesn't believe that we need an ICAC. And I think the reason this government thinks that we don't need an ICAC is that it knows what we will find.
So you've heard what she had to say, and most of the independents are the same. They're driving for a federal ICAC and one with teeth. And given the federal government under Scott Morrison have basically said they're not going to have one, they're putting it off for the next 20 years, and they've got no plan to have it in the next 3 years if they were voted back in. They have no value to the country whatsoever. So we're going to have to, that means we're going to end up with a Labor government. Well, instead of just having a Labor government like under Kevin Rudd, which only lasted a couple of years before the Labor Party themselves kicked him out because he was on the nose with voters. Let's start off with a Labor Party government which is reliant on quality independence. Now the Liberal and Nationals will argue, oh, it'll be chaos. Well, what is it currently? the Prime Minister Scott Morrison is beholden to the National Parties, the nutters over there, who lie, deceive and up to the neck in fraud and basically on the payroll of the coal industry. If they're not on the payroll now, they will be when they leave. They'll go into a multi-million dollar, well, $1 million job for some of the big miners. That's what's happened before. Now, have a look at the article. There's links there, there's further arguments on what I've done now. Have a good listen to what Monique Ryan says. I think she's fairly consistent with other independents. I haven't listened to them all, but most of them seem fairly well qualified. Certainly a lot more qualified than the clowns we got in government at the moment, who quite a few of them just come straight from law firms or come straight from union backgrounds or whatever. A lot of them don't have industry background of any shape or form. A lot of these independents seem to have some of the sort of quality industry background. Other than that, when you do visit my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, make sure you sign up for the free email subscription. And please share the articles via Facebook, Twitter or your other social media accounts. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.